My name is Kristen Kosh. I'm currently the principal at Plymouth Public School in Welland, but prior to that I was at Edith Cavell in St. Catharines. And Edith Cavell was was the first school that Lunch Angels began with about 4 years ago now. So I had the opportunity to start with them right from the beginning. So Plymouth is definitely a lower income demographic. A lot of our families are just hovering around the poverty line. Many of them are single income and rely on Ontario Works and Ontario Disability for the majority of their income. So a lot of our students come to school with some of the bare minimums in terms of their food and their clothing. And one of the things we notice quite often is that they're hungry. So our breakfast program feeds about 95 kids a day, which is almost a third of our school population. At first, I was a little skeptical about the logistics of it. So how are we going to sort of narrow down who was going to be eligible or who we were going to support? And then how long would it run? And would we be able to keep that going so that if families were relying on it, if it happened to not be working as well, how are we going to support it afterwards? But that was easily rectified when Carlene and Garrett stepped in and we sat down and they sort of began to take over, and they showed up every time, always on time and excited to see the kids, and they started to get to know the kids by name, and that really and we embraced that because they started to make our kids their kids. So there's one family that always comes to mind, and it had been about 6 months after Lunch Angels had started at Edith Cavell, and one of our little guys had tripped on the stair and fallen, and he ended up having to get staples in his head. And when he had fallen, it was on a Wednesday at second break, and Lunch Angels were there. And I remember Garrett coming out and talking to him as he was getting loaded into the ambulance, and he knew his name and he knew that he had brothers, and you could see that just calmed the little guy down right away. And Garrett and Carlene actually came back at the end of that week, and they had gifts for him to make sure that he was okay, and they came and checked on him, and that meant a lot to the little guy because there was somebody there that was calm for him in a moment of chaos and when he was scared. But it also showed the family that they had been embraced as important and as meaningful parts of our community. I want to express my gratitude. I was hesitant at first when it started. It was new and we hadn't seen anything like it, and I'd never dealt with anything, and there was no other school to reach out to and ask about it. But it's become a really important part of my time at Edith Cavell and the kids' lives, and I will be forever grateful for the opening my eyes to that experience, and I'm definitely more willing to be flexible and open to other suggestions in the future.